abnormalities in an otherwise normal situation. So we profile. That's what our job is to profile. If that is checking out a car full of young black men at 4 o'clock in the morning in West Park, just traveling around in circles, we see it a couple times, then so be it. That also includes a car full of white kids driving around in Lee Harvard at the same hour. We look for abnormalities in an otherwise normal situation. Now you can debate what's normal. You know, are you being racist by saying that that's not normal? You know, because everybody should be able to drive Yeah, absolutely. I'm not saying stop the car and get everybody out at gunpoint and put them on the ground. I'm saying drive up next to them, and I've done this 1,000 times. Hey guys, what's going on? And just see what the reaction is. You know, let them know that you're there. You know, it could be as simple as that.
I'm saying in general, because it seems.
No, I don't.
You don't think racism exists in the police?
I don't. I will tell you that, and look you in the eye and tell you that. I will tell you that in 23 years, I have never gotten a radio assignment, and I told you I worked in the 4th District, never gotten a radio assignment where I called back and said, hey, radio, what color is the family? Right? Never heard it done. 23 years, never heard it done. Never, not one time in 23 years have I ever gotten to that house and somebody comes out and sizes me up and goes, send me a black cop. I'm not saying that there's not Klan members on a job, just like there's Black Panthers on a job, right?
What do you think? You think are you saying the Black Panthers are, what is it? You're saying they're the same as the KKK?
I'm saying that, well, yeah, they're both racially exclusive, racially divisive. They spew venom. Both of those groups.
Okay.
White hate groups
be the
and
next
black.
interview. We'll talk about that.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm saying that whatever your personal beliefs are, just because you're a police officer or a journalist doesn't mean that you're not allowed to express your personal beliefs or have your own personal beliefs. If that manifests itself on this job, if I'm a Klan member and and I believe that every black person is, and don't cut this up to make it sound like I'm saying I'm a Klan member, because I'm not. But if that was my internal belief, I'm going to show my colors very, very quickly. And the department is not going to tolerate that. The officers that work with me are not going to tolerate that. They're just not going to do it. But that goes both ways. If you don't think that there's some, if you think that there's people that have a white supremacist mentality in the police department, there's people that have a black supremacist mentality in the police department. Those are parts of.
So do you feel
that's what we all have to work on those. But as long as those ideologies and what you're thinking at the time, as long as that doesn't manifest itself in the work that you're doing out on the job for the community, and when it does, I'm telling you, it is like a 5-alarm fire bell going off. That this, and guys will, you ever see the greasy water and you drop the dishwashing soap in it and all the grease goes, whoosh. That's exactly what happens with these guys.
Let's get on the consent decree. So you don't think it's needed? I'm assuming. Let me ask you.
No.
Do you think the consent decree is needed?
No, I don't. I think that in its form, it's not needed. I think that the city of Cleveland has done an outstanding job in keeping up with best practices. Mayor Jackson brought...
Despite what the federal government thinks.
Well, who cares what the federal government thinks? The federal government thinks what Holder tells them to think, what Lynch tells them to think, what Obama tells them to think. The federal government's going to think something a lot different.
You think they listen to Obama?
Yeah. Are you kidding me?
Okay.
You don't think so?
I would say, a lot of people would say he doesn't get the respect as a normal president from people in the House.
From people in the...
I mean, you can say some stuff might have passed, but there's like an uneasiness or a disagreeableness when dealing with him.
Do you think that's because he's black, or because he's a socialist?
I don't know. We're gonna have to do that another.
We're going to have a lot of great topics here. But
So what? Let me ask you: if you think the consent decree is not needed, why do you feel you should be on the board?
because I'm going to be a part of that, because the consent decree calls for that. Whether it's needed or not, it's here. Whether I agree with it being here or not, it's here. And by the way, the chief of police doesn't agree with it. The safety director doesn't agree with it. The mayor doesn't agree with it. But it's here. And it's an agreement between the city of Cleveland and the Department of Justice, and it's something that we have to deal with on a line by line basis. And we're going to agree. We're going to deal with that situation for as long as we need to, until things get done. That being said, I don't agree that they're here. The city of Cleveland, when Bush was in power, the Department of Justice came in here and they looked at our request, Mayor Jackson's request. When he first got in here, he wanted an overall review of our policies and procedures. Are we doing the best practices? They came up with 22 different recommendations, which the mayor and the chief and the safety director implemented. And then 2 times within the next 8 years, 2 times, PERF was in here. And they provided recommendations. They looked at what we were doing and they provided recommendations. And the city of Cleveland, the mayor instructed the chief and the safety director to adhere to the recommendations of that. So this isn't the OK Corral out here. I just gave you an example of something that they said was excessive force. Tasing a naked, sweaty, bleeding African American man.
So from your perspective, you feel that the media is going to soften the police force. It's going to make it where they can't really protect themselves the way they should. That's
Absolutely.
what I'm getting.
And if we can't protect ourselves, then we can't. What are you seeing right now? What are you seeing across this country? If you do the research and you look at the cities that have consent decrees, you will find that there is not one city that has shown an improvement in crime rates. Now, there's not one city that's shown an improvement in crime rates of the cities that have the consent decrees. Right now, they're getting ready to go into Dallas. Dallas was the model of community-involved policing. That's what we all want. You have to get the cops to buy into that. They're not buying into it right now. They're not doing anything right now proactive. Now, that may be a victory to some people. Maybe some people on our commission, that's a victory. Well, yeah, we don't want them down in the neighborhood. How many times do you hear Rhonda Williams talking about, we don't want the police militarized? Well, make up my mind. I suggested that the city of Cleveland put an office space in every building that they own. Every single building, because we all want police officers in the neighborhoods, right? The mayor could, with a swipe of, the mayor, by the way, loved the idea, so did Dettelbach. So the mayor could, with a swipe of a pen, say, hey, every grammar school, I want an office space that we can, with a door on it, for the Cleveland, put a Cleveland police patch on it, and with the swipe of a pen, the mayor could mandate an office space in all, rec centers, grammar schools, libraries. I don't care what the building is. As long as it's in the neighborhood, right? The chief could mandate that you and I are partners, and we need, instead of coming back to the district to do routine paperwork, reports, and that kind of stuff, we go to the grammar school X to do it. And while you're in doing the paperwork, or I'm in doing the paperwork, you're out glad handing with the kids in a police uniform in a non-enforcement type capacity.
Do you think that would disrupt their learning?
No.
Seeing police. Because when you think of police, you think, okay, something is wrong.
That's what we have to change, right?
That's the only time, no one calls the police and say, hey, why don't you come watch the Browns game?
Mm-hmm.
You call the police because you're in trouble. You know what I mean?
And that's what we have to change, right?
Yeah.
So how do you change it? If you don't start somewhere, and I'm not saying that that's a panacea, that that's the answer, but it's a step in the right direction. If you're out there glad handing these kids and they see you in the hallway during classes, You know, that's gonna promote trust of the police, right? Because you're not gonna be a jerk to them. You're gonna be nice to the kids. We love kids. You're gonna develop relationships with teachers, with staff members at the rec centers. Hey, Steve.
Have you recommended this to the consent decree board?
Absolutely did. Absolutely did. And to the Department of Justice and to the city.
And what was the
I had a
response?
meeting with the mayor about it. They all loved the idea, but it never went anywhere.
Okay.
You know, and Rhonda Williams' response with the Community Police Commission was, well, we don't want to militarize our schools. You know, well, that's her agenda and that's her nonsense.
Well, some things sound good on paper, and in theory, it could be a disaster. Or
we have to.
But we have to start
and I agree with
somewhere
you. We
or
have
try
to start
with
somewhere.
Yeah.
You know, and for her response to be immediately, well, we can't do that because I'm not going along with that because we're not gonna militarize our.
Well, the police. You don't believe that the police is becoming more and more militarized?
No, how?
The police. Well, we were
just with the
about,
technology that we have.
We were talking about Ferguson earlier, right?
Mm-hmm.
The police in Ferguson, that when they were going down there for the riots, a lot of those police later or during were trained in Israel by the Israeli police.
Come on. Well, you better
and
be able
Israel,
to show me that because there's not. I'll tell you this.
In Israel, the police is the military.
Yeah. Well, that is absolutely ridiculous because, first of all, the cost of that would be prohibited.
Well, do you know how much money we send to Israel to pay Israel? I mean, I'm not trying to billions of dollars.
Sure, probably more than that. We send billions and trillions of dollars all over the place. That money needs to be kept in this country, and given to the city of Cleveland, so we can put 200 more cops out on the street. Because this is the other thing that I gave them in writing. If you want true community involved policing, the cops want that.
But I think the police are just looking at it from their perspective, but their training, like you said, they can't, like with the rec center, they can't harm civilians. So the police are capable of thinking outside of themselves.
Little Italy, there's no police cars assigned to those zones because of the crime rates are higher in other places, so they put the cars where they need them. If you have 2 cars in every zone, you can keep those cars there in that zone. It's called zone integrity. If I'm there 40 hours a week in your neighborhood's in my zone, you're going to know who I am really quick, and I'm going to know who you are. I'm going to know you're a good guy, and I'm going to say, hey, what's up? When I drive by, you're going to say, hey, Steve, what's going on? And, you know, that's community policing in my mind. If there's 2 cars in every zone, those cars can stay safe if something bad happens, which makes me happy because they can back each other up, right? And they're going to know very quickly who the good guys are, who the bad guys are, where, Aunt Mabel lives. And, if they see 3 or 4 newspapers piling up on her front step, they're going to get out of the car and know to go knock on the door and say, what's going on, Auntie? You okay? Everything good? That is true community policing. That every police officer in this department would buy into that.